Welcome back to PsychEd. Today, we're diving into the classic research from the positive psychology approach, Myers and Diener's 1995 research, Who is Happy? We'll cover the aims, methodology, key findings, and conclusions, exploring factors like money, relationships, personality traits, culture, race, and faith to see what really makes people happy. Myers and Diener wanted to explore subjective well-being, essentially, what makes people happy. Their study aimed to answer key questions like, are certain groups happier than others? What factors influence happiness? Age, gender, money, relationships? Can we find patterns in happiness across cultures? They aimed to challenge common myths about happiness and highlight what really contributes to well-being. This study wasn't a traditional experiment with participants and procedures. Instead, it was a literature review, meaning Myers and Diener analyzed previous research on happiness using interviews and surveys, self-reports on happiness, meta-analyses, statistical reviews of multiple studies, correlations, identifying relationships between factors like wealth and happiness. Because it was a literature review, there was no direct procedure. Instead, they compared and analysed findings from different studies to draw conclusions about what influences happiness. The findings of the study are divided into the factors affecting well-being. Firstly, does age affect subjective well-being? Inglehart, in 1990, surveyed 169,776 people across 16 nations and found no significant difference in life satisfaction across age groups. Stock et al., in 1983, found that happiness levels remain stable throughout life. These findings suggest that knowing someone's age doesn't give any clue about their happiness levels. Next factor, gender. Herring and colleagues in 1984 conducted a meta-analysis of 146 studies and found that gender accounted for less than 1% of people's global happiness. Inglehart, in 1990, discovered that 80% of both men and women reported being at least fairly satisfied with life. These findings suggest that there is no significant difference in happiness between men and women. Next factor, race. Studies have found no major differences in happiness levels across racial groups. Diener and colleagues in 1993 found that African Americans report nearly as much happiness as European Americans. Crocker and Major, in 1989, discovered that black and white people score similarly on self-esteem tests, despite social and economic disparities. These findings suggest that race does not significantly impact happiness, possibly due to psychological resilience and social comparisons within racial groups. Next factor, culture. Inglehart, in 1990, found significant differences in happiness between nations. For instance, in Portugal, only 10% of people reported being very happy, whereas in the Netherlands, it was 40%. Diener and colleagues, in 1994, found that happiness varies between cultures even when controlling for income. Additionally, Diener and colleagues, in an upcoming publication, discovered that collectivist cultures, which prioritize group harmony, report lower subjective well-being than individualistic cultures, which emphasize personal achievements and self-expression. These findings suggest that cultural norms and values play a major role in shaping happiness, with individualistic cultures generally reporting higher subjective well-being than collectivist cultures. However, this does not necessarily mean collectivist cultures are less happy. They may just express happiness differently. Next factor, money. Are people in wealthier countries happier? Inglehart, back in 1990, found a moderate correlation, 0.67, between national wealth and happiness. Diener and Diener, in press, discovered that in poorer countries like Bangladesh and India, satisfaction with finances moderately predicted happiness. But in wealthier countries, income had little impact. Diener and colleagues in 1993 found only a 0.12 correlation between income and happiness in the United States. Even members of the Forbes wealthiest list were only slightly happier than the average American, and 37% were actually less happy. So, the findings suggest that money matters only up to a point. Once basic needs are met, additional wealth doesn't strongly influence happiness. Next factor: personality traits. Self-esteem. Happy people tend to like themselves, and that's been shown in multiple studies. Personal control. People who feel in control of their lives are happier, as noted by Campbell in 1981 and Larson in 1989. Optimism. Optimists tend to be happier, healthier, and more successful, according to Denver and Brooks in 1989 and Seligman in 1991. Extroversion. Extroverts are happier both when alone and with others, as found by Diener and colleagues in 1992. These findings suggest that personality traits play a major role in happiness, more so than external factors like money. Next factor: relationships. Pavitt and colleagues in 1990 found that people experience more positive emotions when they're with others. Lee and colleagues in 1991 discovered that 39% of married people were very happy compared to only 24% of never married people. A meta-analysis of 93 studies showed that married people are consistently happier than unmarried individuals. So, the findings suggest that strong social connections and supportive relationships significantly contribute to happiness. Next factor: flow. Csikszentmihalyi, in 1990, studied people's happiness during various activities. People were happiest when fully engaged in a task that was challenging but achievable. This state is called flow. So, these findings suggest that happiness comes from being fully absorbed in meaningful activities rather than passive relaxation. Next factor: faith and religion. Paloma and Pendleton, in 1990, found that across North America and Europe, religious people reported higher happiness and life satisfaction. Gallup, in 1984, noted that highly spiritual people were twice as likely to say they were very happy compared to less religious people. Okun and Stock, in 1987, found that among the elderly, the two strongest predictors of happiness were health and religiousness. These findings suggest that faith provides social support, purpose, and hope, all of which enhance happiness. Myers and Diener concluded that happiness isn't about age, gender, or even wealth. Instead, three key factors influence well-being. Adaptation. People quickly adapt to positive and negative life events, so their long-term impact on happiness is limited. Cultural worldview. Different cultures interpret life events differently, affecting happiness levels. And values and goals. People with clear goals and purpose tend to be happier regardless of external circumstances. They argued that by understanding what really makes people happy, society can focus on improving well-being rather than just economic growth. And that's a wrap on Myers and Diener's Who is Happy? If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology breakdowns.